Okay, so good morning and welcome to the second session of this week course on ethics, diversity and future of human resource development. And you remember we have been talking about what is diversity and how diversity can be used as a strength to integrate people from different cultures, nations, race, gender. Okay. Now, what we are going to discuss in the second session is related to how we are going to manage diversity at the workplace, okay, and what role HRD has in the process. So, you know that HRD can go for providing training, creating awareness and education, right, in the organization to so that people are able to better appreciate and realize others who are from diverse backgrounds, right. So, in this session what we are going to discuss is related to the issues related to diversity management, what companies are doing and what is the role of human resource development in the process, right. And that is why we have taken up this session on diversity management. Now, when you are talking about diversity management, we have to see what are the various challenges which is created by the diversity. Okay. Now, if you look at some of the challenges like availability challenge, what does it mean by saying availability challenge? Okay. Earlier what used to happen that people were more or less from the same background. Okay. The mobility was less and people used to work more or less in a homogeneous environment, right, and people were being controlled because that was not much an issue, and so the employers were able to control diversity because of this homogeneity of people, right. And there were a lot of people who used to take care of them. Now, what actually has happened that the workforce has reduced, okay, heterogeneity has gone up, right, and similarly you will find that talented people, okay, are becoming scarce. So, what actually is required that employers have to realize this fact that now you are going to have a very heterogeneous workforce. Okay. The number of people or the countdown of people has gone down because of changes in the technology or other economic pressures. Okay. So, they have to be more flexible towards employees, because if you want good employee, not necessary that you are going to get them from the region or location where you are operating in. So, you are bound to get people from different locations belonging to different culture, nation, religion and ethnicity. So, earlier employees used to recruit locally, but that is not possible, okay, because the kind of talent that you are looking for, the organization may not be available locally. Okay. So, they need to be more flexible and they should also realize that if different kind of people belonging to different background, okay, or you are going to have a diverse workforce, it does not mean that they are going to be deficient. Okay. So, this conception that different does not mean deficient has to be realized by the employers, and the HR managers should have to make them understand that if you want good talented people, then you have to move out from your location or region, and then you need to bring out people from belonging to different cultures, right, different nations even, okay, because that is where the talent is, and since you are focused on productivity, performance, okay, and getting good people is become really a problem for most of the industries. So, if you are looking for good talent, then you have to move out, okay, and that is where you need to realize this, and that if there are differences in the background, it does not mean that they are going to be deficient. The only thing is that you have to see that how are going to treat people belonging to different background. Now, another important challenge is related to fairness. Okay. Are you going to treat people from diverse background in an equal manner? So, if you are going to provide equal treatment, then there should not be any problem, but if you are going to discriminate minorities against minorities, women against men, okay, favoring certain cultures or nations, then that creates a problem. Okay. So, you need to be fair in your treatment to the people. In US we have this concept of equal employment opportunity, but even if you look at our Indian constitution, it also says that the employers are not supposed to discriminate on the basis of gender, race, culture, ethnicity and minority, right. I mean our constitutional rights are there. So, keeping these things in mind, you need to consider that how you are going to treat your employees and make sure that you are going to treat them fairly well without any discrimination on account of any of these diversity factors that we have discussed, right. Now, you must embrace this, that is now the focus is not on similarity, but the focus should be on differences, because you are going to get people from different background. They would be bringing different kind of attitude, values, interests, talents also, which would be good for the organization, right. So, if you treat them fairly, it is always good, and then you can realize the strength of this diversity for productive or other things in the organization, right. Apart from these two challenges, you will find that there is another challenge, that how you are going to say that you are able to create a synergy of people coming from different backgrounds. Okay. You know that we are moving to more group based or team working from individual working, right. Most of the industries will find that you are not supposed to work individually, but you are going to work in teams or groups, right. And this group can be having people from different background in terms of diversity. Okay. The group might be having say people related to both the genders, male and female. It could be related to different cultures, nations, geographies, right. So, if you are going to have this kind of group, okay, the challenge for the managers, and specifically if you look at HRD professionals, is that how to create synergy among the people that they are more productive, especially when they are going to work in a team, right. And you also need to ensure that there is no conflict among the team members who belong to different or diverse background. Okay. So, this challenge of synergy is very important, provided you want to have a good team having people from different or diverse background, right. Then if you are able to make it, probably it will help you to solve problem, because people coming from different background might be approaching the problem in a different way. So, it would facilitate problem solving. Okay. And if you are not going to do it, probably it will close down the communication. So, it may have a positive approach as well as a negative connotations as well. For example, if people from belonging to different background do not talk interact communicate with each other, then what will happen? If there is no dialogue or interaction between people from diverse background in a group, then the group cannot function properly, okay. And the entire group processes could be derailed, and that is where the role of HRD professionals come to create a synergy by identifying certain interventions, say like team building, okay, to help people to realize the strength of the group, okay, open them to others in terms of culture, race, gender, whatever it is, so that they are able to work together, and that is where communication, especially interpersonal communication, becomes very important. Okay. So, you have to ensure that these kind of interventions help people to go for a more constructive approach instead of having a destructive conflict within the group, right. And that is where you are going to use this diversity as an input for realization of your goals and objectives, right. So, these are some of the challenges related to diversity, which must be understood by the top management, and then we have to see what kind of role HR managers are going to play, and accordingly what kind of interventions can be planned in terms of learning and development, maybe at the individual level or the group level, which is going to help them to work more effectively. And that is where most of the companies, they provide kind of training which is known as diversity training. Okay. So, the idea of having this kind of training is to help employees to understand the value of diversity, okay. And people may be from different cultures, nations. So, that you are able to understand their culture, their religion, okay, their attitude, their values, okay. And this differences is recognized and as well respected as, right, because if you are not able to recognize and respect the differences, probably you will not be able to work with them together, right. So, the idea of this kind of training is to make them understand the religion, culture, nationality, races of others who are coming from different background, and they are not only able to recognize the differences that they have, okay, but also see to it that how they are going to appreciate these differences, right. Because see, people coming from different religions, okay, might be having different approach. So, that could be realized as a strength, not as a negative connotation, right. People coming from different cultures may be having different kind of mindsets. Okay. So, if they open up, they would be able to better contribute to the group goals or organizations, right. So, now as a part of this diversity training, many companies have initiated this kind of training, you can say, where they are going to train people to recognize and respect the differences across diversity, that is people who are coming from different kind of backgrounds. Okay. So, another thing that is very important, that you should not be giving only training, but you should also follow it up to see that whether people have been really following them, or still they are still discriminating. Okay. Even if you are aware, sometimes you discriminate, because you might be having certain interests, okay, there could be conflict of interests. So, these things had to be avoided, and that is why you need to follow it up to ensure that whether this kind of training is really helping people to come together and work, right. And if you are able to do it and people become aware and are being educated about this fact, probably it is going to create better awareness. So, you become aware about the other culture. For example, if I go to Japan, okay, then I would be able to learn certain positive traits about the Japanese people, okay, which is a part of their culture, right, and which I can imbibe in myself when I am going to work, right. So, these kind of awareness has to be created among the people. So, you need to bring about the positive things from other cultures, okay, and make people aware, okay, and see that how they are going to utilize these kind of things in their work, right. And similarly, you will also find that this would help employees to treat each other well, right, with respect and dignity. Otherwise, what will happen? People will not even talk to them, other people who are coming from different backgrounds, right. So, that is how it is going to help employees to treat and act towards each other, because now they are familiar with the culture, they know and understand people coming from different backgrounds, having different needs, expectations, attitude and values. So, once this kind of difference is understood by them, probably they would be in a better position to understand them, right. Some of the times it has been criticized, because you know that if you are going to provide this kind of training, there is a possibility, if it is failed, that you only emphasize on differences, okay, and which might create a wide gap instead of narrowing it down, right, because you know that these are the differences and you know that there is no branching point, and then you close down everything. It means there is no avenue for communication and anything like that. So, if you are going to only emphasize on differences, then it may not be good. But what you should do, that you are not going to only emphasize on differences, but you also try to bring about the positive things related to other backgrounds, diverse backgrounds, and then is that how it could be inculcated as a part of training, right. So, it is very, very important that you try to see that you follow the similar model of training interventions, like you are going to identify who are the people who are discriminating, okay, because they are the target for diversity training programs, right. So, first of all, you need to go for need assessments of diversity programs, and then create goals that what they need to do. Okay. So, they will go through this kind of diversity program to recognize and appreciate the differences, and they would also be communicated what are the positive things that need to learn, right, and then how they are going to follow it up, right, and then ultimately you are going to evaluate that those people who have been doing these kind of things, have they stopped it or not, are they still discriminating. People who coming from different culture, age, background, socioeconomic status, even gender also, right. So, it is very, very important, and you know that when you are going to conduct this kind of training, when it comes to evaluation, if you are going to follow an ROI model, return on investment model, then you have to see that this kind of training is justified. It means that make sure that cost does not exceed benefits, right, benefit exceeds cost, in the sense that make sure that the cost of this program, okay, looking at various constraints, exceeds exceeds benefit, and that is why sometimes you find it very difficult, because this is the thing where you are to give about more behavioral changes in the people, because if people do not change their behavior, then it may not be possible to evaluate this kind of training. So, those who have been discriminating, if they have stopped, they have started appreciating, they have been started working with each other, right. They have formed good groups, which is very, very productive. So, these could be some of the criteria for evaluating of this diversity training, right. So, we follow similar HRD process model, starting with audit, those who require this kind of training, need assessment you can say, then you design a development program depending upon the requirement, you conduct this kind of diversity training program, and then finally evaluate using a different set of criteria to ensure that they are able to do those things which is required by them, right, and then you follow it up, so that this kind of behavior is strengthened among the employees. Okay. And this could also be linked with the reward, right. Say for example, if you have been able to form a good team consisting of people from diverse background, and you have been very, very productive, this could be appreciated and recognized, and this is going to further strengthen the team productivity, right. And that is how diversity training has been very, very successful, and many companies have started doing this kind of training. Now, moving further, if you look at the kind of activities that happens, okay, with what kind of things that we are looking forward to in an organization. So, if you see here you will find on two axes, one is the diversity skills. Okay. As you move up, you are better trained, okay, and then on this side you will find that it talks about how aware you are. So, the goals are that you are able to develop those skills related to diversity, and then you also become aware about the things that is required in terms of awareness. So, that you are able to value the differences. Okay. Now, if you look at the diversity skills, you find that it starts with monitoring yourselves. Okay. So, you will try to understand and look at yourself that how you have been behaving to other people coming from different background. Then you should talk about your background, you also talk to others, listen to them, okay, about them, so that you are able to identify what are the differences in your approach and their approach, your attitude, their attitude, right. Then you need to be educated about the diversity. Once you understand the differences, then you should see that how this diversity is going to help, in the sense that what are the positive points of this, and then you make sure that this diversity is inculcated as a part of the behavior. Okay. So, that you do not make any inappropriate behavior towards people from other backgrounds. Okay. And if there are certain conflicts, then you have to see that how you are going to manage it, okay, and then get feedback about it, okay, so that you are able to recognize the differences in a better way. Right. And similarly, on this side, if you should look at it, diversity awareness, and here you can see that what are the policies that the organization has, okay, whether these kind of opportunities are protected by the government, the constitution, like Indian constitution protect this kind of diversity. By having this kind of right, it says that no person can be discriminated on the basis of sex, race, gender in cases of employment, right. So, it is not in a case of employment, but it is a case of discrimination, right. So, you have to see that you need to make laws to stop these kind of practices if it is happening, right. And then you should make them understand that what are the benefits of diversity, how it is going to help us, and then it also helps you to understand others' perspective. That is very good, because so far you have been knowing about your perspective. Okay. So, once you know about others' perspective, probably you will be in a better position to comprehend and realize things in a better way, right. So, the most important thing is that you value the differences. It is not that you are going to discriminate or criticize that, but you value the differences coming from the people from different cultures and other things, and then you respect them, that is more important. Okay. So, there are two things, recognizing the differences, valuing them, respecting them, and then behaving in such a way, that is the skill part, so that other people are not being, others are not offended, they do not feel otherwise, and that is how the companies have been trying to manage diversity. Now, moving further, I will give an example. This is actually known as that how diversity is celebrated. So, this is a good example. You can see that I celebrate diversity, and this example is related to jelly beans. So, in this case actually what happens during the training program, you have jelly beans which may be having different flavors, right, but the flavors inside does not match or do not match with the colors outside. So, outside color may be same for all of them, or it would be different for all of them. Similarly, the flavor inside could be different, right. So, like green cherry might be say green jelly bean might be cherry on the other flavor, right. So, the idea is to see that if you look at this candy, it says that this candy is just like people. You cannot determine what is on inside by simply looking at the outside. Okay. So, this actually reminds us that yes, you have to experience people one at a time and enjoy their unique quality. So, each one has a unique quality. So, people coming from different backgrounds, different culture, races might be having certain things which is good, which is unique. So, then you are going to treat it as strength, and many companies that are using it, right, big companies. Even in India, I have found that some companies have started using it. Okay. The only thing is that you have to say that as a game it is good, but whether it is really effective, okay, whether it is really leading to comprehend and understand people, to understand that yes, people are different, they are unique in terms of their characteristics, in terms of their background. So, instead of being discriminated or discriminating, you are going to work together by realizing the strength of each of these characteristics who are coming from different background, right. So, after this examples which could be used as a mechanism for training, we have to see that how companies are able to manage it, right. Now, you will find that the companies adopt different kind of approach, which could be positive in nature or could be affirmative also, like there are rules and regulations which have been framed by the organizations. There could be policy approach, policy documents which talk that how are going to behave and treat people coming from different kind of background, right. So, the idea is that if you are able to realize the strength, it would help you to create a culture which is good for everyone, irrespective of what their background is in terms of sex, race, culture or his status, right. So, the idea is basically that you are going to include everyone in the process, because if you are going to discriminate, then in the process what happens, some people would be left out, and if they are left out, it means that you are not going to utilize their knowledge and skill effectively. Okay. And that is why you are going to create a level playing field, where everybody is equally participating in the process, okay, and everyone is going to contribute towards the effectiveness or performance, right. And that is why the companies have to manage diversity very well. So, if you look at the current response to diversity, like you need to create a culture that values diversity. So, you make it a part of the culture of the organization. Okay. Similarly, you bring about certain changes in the structure, policies and systems, okay, to support this kind of activity or diversity. Okay. For example, you have a boss who might be a male, you are a female. Okay. Similarly, you might be having a colleague who may be belonging to different culture, right. You may be having a subordinate who may be belonging to different race, right. Are you getting my point or not? So, if you are going to create this kind of a structure and you have policies, okay, then probably it is going to support this kind of diversity initiatives in the organization, and then you are going to make it a part of the culture. Okay. Starting from the top to down, you create norms, values related to this, so that people respect this kind of things in the organization, and you do not discriminate when it comes to recruitment, the career advancements or any other activity or even compensation, okay, because most of the companies have been discriminating against a certain group of people based on these characteristics, right, and that is where you need to provide diversity training to the people, right. So, you need to adopt certain inclusive practices at the workplace, and then you also need to provide cross cultural education and training, right. That is also a part of diversity initiative, where you will find that lot of lot of people from India are working overseas. Okay. So, they are going for this kind of diversity training, especially cross cultural training. So, that you are going to prepare your employees to work in different countries, that most of the IT companies are sending their people to different parts of the continent, maybe UK or US or Canada or even Australia, right. So, when you are going to work in these countries, probably you should be aware about their etiquette, their attitude, their culture, so that you can understand them better, right. So, you need to make you need to be aware about cultural differences, because that is the most important thing. Otherwise, that people might be having a kind of culture shock when you go to another country and find their values, attitude, interests, their lifestyle, which is entirely different from yours. Okay. And this kind of training probably is going to shape your attitude, so that you can understand, appreciate and realize these differences. Okay. And it should be based upon the facts and the information about the culture. And similarly, you also need to be trained about the language, the sign language, non-verbal communication, because in certain communications this means no and this means yes, like, but in Indian culture it is different. So, you must understand that what kind of non-verbal communication are used. For example, if you go to Japan, you have to do like this if you want to say hello, right. So, these are some of the non-verbal communication pattern that need to be understood by the people. Similarly, you also need to understand their language, because not necessary that they are going to speak your language. Okay. Especially if you go to some of the South Asian countries like Japan, China, Vietnam, it would be very difficult for you if you do not understand at least part of that language. But this kind of training is of course training, but it has a very positive impact on employees who are going overseas, and that helps them to better adjust them in the, with them and also perform, and that is why this kind of cross cultural training is given. So, look at some of the diversity initiative that is taken. Okay. It means that when you are going to recruit people, you are going to recruit people from different demographies, right. Similarly, you are going to see that what is the composition of your customer base, composition of the labor pool, right. So, you make sure that they belong to different categories. Similarly, when it comes to career advancement, you do not discriminate on the basis of that. So, eliminate the glass ceiling effect, provide equal employment opportunity, equal opportunity for growth to everybody irrespective of what their background is. So, accomplishment mentoring relationship, that is always good, or sometimes you can go for cross gendering mentoring, that would help to better understand, and then also accommodate people having special needs, right. For example, child care, okay. Those who do not speak English. Okay. So, materials could be provided in their language, right, providing some certain benefits like maternity or paternity leave. Okay. Then having a flexible work schedule. So, these are some of the initiatives that could be taken up by the organizations to ensure that you are able to accommodate, right. Home based employment, that is very popular, or going for insurance, especially health insurance, so that you get health benefits, right. Now, if you look at how we create awareness. Okay. So, this is if you look at this figure, you will find that we start from here, where the level of awareness is very less. You are in the mode of denial. Okay. This is a very parochial view. Means you think that your culture, your religion is everything, okay, and you do not understand cultural differences. Okay. Some cases you claim that your culture is better than others, right. So, this is the first level, and then when you are exposed to other things through training, then you try to be defensive to start with. Okay. You think that it is going to create a threat. For example, if you are that Indians, when something that is Western is imposed upon them, then they think that it is going to be a threat upon them, right. So, you perceive this threat against one's world view, because you are more comfortable with that world view. Okay. And you do not want to understand or realize what is the world view of others, right. So, and you have certain negative stereotyping. You think no, Chinese are like that, or Americans are like that, Australians are like that, right. Pakistanis or Bangladeshis are like. So, these kind of stereotyping may be there. Okay. So, that is the second stage. Okay. And you think no, your culture is better, like that Britishers say that their race and their culture is the superior one. Okay. Right. Then as the training goes on, the differences goes down, that gets reduced. Okay. because either you hide it, you do not expose yourself, or you trivialize these differences, and sometimes you also try to defend yourself, but gradually this kind of say strength goes down to defend yourself, okay, and then you try to see that what is similarity between your culture and their culture. Okay. And at the next level, then you start accepting that yes, there could be behavior differences in the attitude, values, interests and all kind of things, right. And you also think that there is another world view, okay, which is different from yours, and then you move towards adaptation. Okay. I tell you that I give you a very good example of this kind of awareness, that many people who go from India to Western countries, you know that if they are vegetarian, they face lot of problems, okay, and they think that whatever Westerners eat is everything bad. But gradually what happens, I have seen people that they start accept it and start not only eating non-veg, which is we eat in our country, but they also eat those things which is actually forbidden or prohibited or culturally not acceptable in our country, right. So, ultimately you adopt to these kind of changes, you shift from your cultural perspective altogether, and you try to behave or empathize like them, right, and ultimately you integrate. Okay. So, that is what diversity training awareness means, and that is where you will find lot of global diversity programs have been made, especially for expatriates who live and work in a country other than their own, like cross cultural training. Then you go for global diversity programs, okay, when it comes to selection, training and these kind of things, right. And then who are more having high or low context communication, means that where you always refer to your culture when you communicate. So, these kind of things can be done. Then ultimately you need to leverage this diversity for better performance and productivity. Okay. So, you can form multicultural teams, people belonging to different culture, race, ethnic and cultural backgrounds. Okay. And then you also make sure that this networking that is based on social identity, and the employees you make sure that employees are going to focus on concerns of employees from that particular group. So, everybody is going to take care of others within the group. Okay. So, these kind of things are done, and then when it comes to that managing multicultural teams, it is always good, because it helps you to be more creative, innovative. Okay. And it is really a kind of a strength, especially in today's marketplace. Okay. And then you have more solutions, more alternatives to these problems. Okay. And right. So, these are some of the advantages that could be here. Only disadvantage is that sometimes this miscommunication, misunderstanding happens among the members of the group, and that has to be sorted out through dialogue, communication and interaction, right. Then diversity in the workplace reflects diversity in the larger environment. So, you have to see that what needs to be done by the organization. Ultimately, you have to see that people are not socially isolated, so that they are very effective, okay, and have impact on the organization and performance, and achieve greater opportunities for career advancement, right. So, you need to value diversity and encourage and support these kind of things, especially from minority organization members, so that they can come to the mainstream and mingle with the majority group, right. Similarly, you can also modify your HR practices. I will not talk about like having language interpreters, providing multilingual supervisors, flexible work schedules for women, especially provide daycare facilities for their children and these kind of things, right. Okay. Thank you very much.